So you want to find out whether a business model makes sense for you. Well, I'm going to use my experience to share with you a way that you can possibly look at it. Now, for me, this is the thought process that I'm going to share with you is exactly what made sense to me, and that's all this is. Okay, so it's not any claim of any kind of sort. I was approached about a business model, and it sounded really good, but they kept talking in general, like, really good money, really good results, and so forth. And I wasn't convinced. So I said, well, let me do my own analysis. I used to be a math teacher, and part of what I've enjoyed is playing with numbers, so I decided to do an analysis of my own. And here I'm going to walk you through that path and see if what I'm thinking about makes sense. But before I do, I have to explain this part because at first it doesn't look very appealing, but then after that, if you understand the concept of exponential growth, then it makes a lot of sense. So just as an example, this has nothing to do with the business, just so we have an understanding. Let's say you were given the opportunity to receive $100,000 at the beginning of the month, or receive a penny, and each day, whatever amount you had from the day before, it would double up. Which would you pick? Okay, maybe you choose $100,000 because it's right there around that moment, and whatever your reasoning is. But let's see what happens just for 30 days. Okay, so that would mean that after one day, this doubles up. You have 2 cents. Again, next day, 4, and so forth. So let's go to day 10. See what happens. $5. The 100,000 is still looking pretty good, right? Let's go 20 days. 5,000. So 100,000 still looks pretty good. Let's go to 25 days. 167,000. Huh. That's 100,000. All of a sudden you're like, maybe I should have taken the other path. And let's just go out to 30 days. Now you're talking 5 million. So if you had chosen option A, which is $100,000, that's what you would have had. And if you had chosen option B, you would have had 5 million, 5.3 million, approximately. So you would have missed out on $5.2 million. So the reason I make this is because it's important to understand that exponential growth can be huge. And when you get a business model that shows some level of that, I'm not saying that this business model will do that, but when you understand the power of doubling up, or compound interest, or exponential growth, any of that, then it certainly makes the business models a lot more interesting. So before we get any further, let's get into taking a look at where the money comes from. So before I go any further, I have to say this part. This is an income disclaimer. It's not any kind of income guarantee. I'm not making any guarantees you're going to have savings, or nobody's guaranteed to make any kind of money. This is for educational purposes only. I have no intent of trying to make any hypey kind of statements here. I'm just using it as my thought process of a particular business model that I was approached about, and I chose to move forward with it. So if what I share with you after I'm done makes sense to you, you're certainly welcome to contact me, or if I'm not the one to share this with you, if somebody else did, then feel free to contact them. That being said, the money comes in after somebody actually spends money, right? So a customer goes out and buys something that they already were going to buy. Within that product, part of what's built in is a marketing budget. Let's say in that particular case, the company says, you know what, we're going to allocate 20% to marketing in whatever format. Okay, whether word of mouth, whether it's some sort of affiliate program or something of the sort. So that means $20 is set aside for marketing, and $80 go to the company to pay for the buildings, do all the other stuff that they normally do. Okay, employees, taxes, all that stuff. In this particular model, what was neat about it is that the client who spent $100 have the opportunity to be able to get some of that money back. So the money goes to those $20 will go to a company, and that company would say, hey, you know what, we're going to give some of that back to you as a customer. Thank you for shopping, and so we're going to give you 15% back. as an example. Okay, so that means that that customer would get $15 back, and the company who received the $20 originally has 5% remaining into their pocket, and they can either choose to keep it, or they can choose to have other people help them spread the word, and then they would have to split part of that profit, right? So remember this 5% and those $5, because now somebody who would be in the business, that 5% would actually matter to some degree. So let's go look at that now. Again, at this point I have to make that this is not an income, this is my income disclaimer. There's no income, no guarantee, and there's no guarantee of any kind of money, just educational purposes only. Okay. So we have one customer, and that customer comes into this program where you can get money for what you already purchased. They can come into it for free, or they can come into it as a paid member. Okay. We're just going to do the analysis completely on the free side. We're not going to worry about a customer having to pay to be part of this program. We're just going to say free. So that way we can take that component out of the equation. Would they actually get it? It's free. You know, it's up to you. It doesn't cost you anything, so use it. That being said, that one customer spent $100, right? They got their $15 because they got 15%, and there's 5% remaining on the table. So if there was $5 out of those $100 that would go to the company, and the company says, you know what, because you helped us spread the word, I'm going to give you 25% of that. So that's $1.25 that would go to the person who helped the company refer the products. Again, remember, it's a free product. So that one customer, let me delete this line here because we don't need that. That one customer would yield $1.25 for that purchase of things that they'd probably already be buying anyway. Okay. So the projected residual that you would get for the month would be $1.25. If you multiply that times 12 months, that would be $15. So $15 for the year. It's not very exciting. Again, even that 125 is not very exciting. But again, remember the example that we looked at when we were looking at exponential growth. Okay. Now here's the neat thing about this. Since the program that allows for there to be money that goes back in your pocket can be free, there is a way for that customer to also be able to refer other customers. Now let's imagine that I told my mom, hey, you know, you can get cash back on the stuff that you're already buying anyway. You don't have to do anything. You just have to, you don't have to pay anything. You just sign up for a free account. Or if you want to get even more, then obviously you can do the paid account. She might be a little skeptical or whatever, but she'd go, you know what, I'll try the free one. So, and then I tell my dad, I tell my cousins, I tell friends, I tell people around me, and I think it's reasonable to say that maybe 2 people might come on board. So let's take a look at that. So instead of there being one customer, and I'm separating in levels just so that we can see how much growth there is. Not that it has to be in levels, but it would be whatever the previous person has times 2. Okay. So these are all free customers, people that come in for free. Okay. And let's just take it, that same analogy, and kind of keep going with it, saying, you know what, they start telling their friends, they share the program with them, and this starts to grow. Let's just go down 6 levels, 6 degrees of separation. So you got up to 32, right? So now I'm not, this is if 16 people were bringing 2 more people. But what we're going to do is we're going to say, you know what, overall, how many people am I referring to this free product? And that they actually just went ahead and did it. In this case, I would have 63 of them. Now, assuming that these people are already spending this money, okay, products they're already spending, not that they have to buy a specific product, then they spend $100 a month. Okay, I'm going to be super conservative. I'm going to change some amounts because I don't want to be, I don't want to over project. I like to under project if I can. That way, when I actually get to playing with it, I like to see better results than what I project. So I'm going to assume that the affiliate company, so the main company, only gets $1 out of 100. Now 1%, 1%, so $1. Okay. Now remember, our example was 5%, so I'm dropping it down to 1%. And that means the company would get $1. And they say to me, hey, since you helped me refer these people, I'm going to give you 25% of my dollar. So 25 cents. Now those 25 cents times those 63 people, because we're assuming that that's on an average. Now, just so you get a sense, I bought some products like toilet paper, hand towels, some sanitizers, detergent for laundry, and a few groceries kind of things. That came over $100. It's crazy, but it did. So $100 isn't that big of an expense when you start to think about the things that you actually normally would use. And this was at a store that I normally shop anyway. So that seemed to be like a reasonable number for now. If you want to play with it and you start thinking, you recreate the sheet and you put 50 in there or whatever, then that's up to you. But I just want to keep the number simple. So off of here, those 25 cents that I would get times the 63 people, and that would mean that I get $15.75 for the month. Now still, again, it's not very exciting, but for the year now it comes to $189. Now it's like, okay, almost a couple of $100. All right, for people buying what they're already buying anyway. Okay, I'm good with that. Let me make this a little bigger so you can see it. Now the other way that somebody shared the thought process with me was, well, let's, if you found a quarter on the ground, would you leave it? No, you'd probably put in, it's like nobody around, there's nobody, it's obviously nobody's, so you found it, that's 25 cents. So what I'm saying here is that there's money that's laying there, and that's available for people who are interested in the business part. Now this doesn't affect the customer in any way, shape, or form. They got their 15%, they're happy, or whatever percent they got theirs. The company got theirs. This is money that's sitting around, and somebody decided, well, since you helped me share this information, then I want to give you something in return for that. So that's the business part. Okay? But now let's see what starts to happen if I'm not the only customer. Let's say I'm able to tell 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. Okay, let's just go with 10 people that sign up for the free program, literally. Okay? And then they start telling other people. So follow the same pattern. Now look at what starts to happen. Same numbers, same low percentage. Now I'm looking at 157 a month approximately, 1,800 for the year. Again, this is what I was looking at. I'm not making any kind of claims here, but this is how I was looking at this model and saying, So then the question became, well, how much am I investing, and is that the return on my investment? Do I feel like I can make that back? And can I be profitable, and how quickly? Well, what would happen if I were to share the product with 20 people? Now this is again, they're not paying anything to be part of the program. Totally free. So you got 20, there's just a straight 20, and they follow the same suit. Now this may take a little time for that to unfold, but I don't care how long a time it takes, because it's going to be something that I'm going to continue to be paid for anyway. Now once this is set up, because people are shopping what they're already shopping anyway, then I continue to generate income. This is truly passive residual income at that point. So now I'm looking at, if the company's getting 1% and I get 25% of that, wow, now I'm at 3,700. Now I'm starting to get kind of excited. Like, okay, it's not a lot of money, but I see the potential. Now the company also has a program where nonprofit organizations and businesses who already have a big database can take advantage of that, and they already have a large database of people they can reach and help, because they are helping those individuals be able to get money into their pockets. So that's money that's just sitting there. Remember, let's say some people have been able to work with the Red Cross or work with the World Health Organization. I mean, those are pretty big organizations, and if they help to bring in some customers that, again, not paying anything to be part of that program, that would be really cool, right? So it wouldn't be totally unrealistic to say that we have now 100 people. Now look what happens at 100 people. Okay. Now again, there has to be that they refer people, and they refer people, they refer people. This is over time. But remember where we started our foundation. We said that one person can tell two people to be able to benefit from getting money back for themselves. So it's a win for the person that's purchasing, because otherwise that money would have gone back to the company. Two, it's a win for whoever referred, because they're going to be able to make some money off of that. And the company is obviously happy because they had a product that they sold. So you're starting to see some bigger numbers. Now, some people have claimed, and again, I'm going to make this crazy analogy just to kind of see what numbers would have been like. Okay, some people say that since this is such a cool product, that it's very easy to be able to get a lot of customers. So they claim that there could be, for every business builder, there would be up to 400, at least for like 400 customers. If that were to be true, and just followed just this little pattern right here that we're talking about, and had it at a 1%, look at how much I would be generating on passive residual income per year. That's assuming at a 1%. What happens if we go back to the 5%? That's crazy, right? So I'm going to go back to what I consider little numbers that we can grasp onto a little bit easier. So 100 people, there you have it. So when I started seeing this, and this is just one component of the whole thing. I mean, if we start getting into paid customers, I almost don't want to do this, but I will, just so that, because I have it in the calculations here. Let me unhide this. Okay. Now this company, they have a paid membership. Okay. And we talked about free, solely on free. And the paid membership is sort of like a Costco thing where you pay $99 for the year and you get the maximum in return. The maximum benefit as a customer. So as a customer, if you decide to do that, then you would end up with a much bigger return on your investment in essence. But this is as a customer, okay? Flat out. So if there was those $99, and let's say that out of every 100 people, 99% were free and 1 was paid. Okay, let's close that here. That means that the company is actually willing to give you up to $44.75. Now I'm not going to get into all the calculations how that is, because there's a referral fee that they give you, and there's a part of those $99 that the company gives you if you're in the business. But that's in essence what it would be. Okay, and if the customer happens to refer another customer and they end up being a paid customer, then again they continue to pay you a percentage of that. Okay, we're not going to get into all the details, because this is just how I looked at it. It's not getting into all the details. If you have questions about that, again, contact the person who shared this video with you, or feel free to contact me, and I'll put my contact information below. So from here, if somebody got the value out of a paid membership, again, we can start. I felt appropriate to me to say, if they start referring people, they're probably going to start referring them to customers that see the same kind of value. A like attracts like. That's the way that I've learned it, and that's the way that's found to be true for me. So I'm going to say that for every one paid customer they refer to. Again, we're not making huge numbers here. And let's go the same 6 levels. Oops. Go here. So that times 2. And then go down the same 6 levels. So now we've got 63 people again. Okay. 6,237 free. 63 out of those. I'm sorry, 63 are paid. Now that means that there would be an additional commission for me as a business builder of $1,500 on top of the $18,000 that I already calculated for my projections on commissions. So now I'm looking at 20. That's kind of nice. Okay, assuming 99% are free, 1% is paid. Now the numbers are much higher than that, because once people start seeing the value, then they're like, well, I want to do better. Now let's see what would happen if it was 50-50. 50% were free, 50% were paid. Look at how crazy the numbers can get. Okay. That is just insane in my mind. This is straight off of just one component of payment. So I almost don't like showing that because people are like, well, no, that's, that's crazy. That doesn't, that may, whatever. You know, I just looked at it from my end of it, what made sense. So let me go back to 100% free. So let me hide this back again because we don't need it right now. Okay. Let's say that I just got that. So my assessment would be from what I paid and what I think that I can earn back. Does that make sense? To me, it did. So I decided to move forward. And I'm not going to look back. So my analysis has been done. The only reason I would say I'm not going to look back is I'm going to stay focused on growing that part of the business, obviously, and being able to share with people something that's a benefit to them, which is really good. It feels really good. So that being said, I think that just sharing my thought process, hopefully it'll be useful to you, to somebody else, and it'll help you be able to analyze whatever business you choose to go in. Maybe it's a different business that you go into, but I would still strongly recommend that before you get into it, you do your own projections. Don't go with the projections that somebody else has gone through because you don't know how they came up with them. If you understand how you came up with your projections and you've double checked your work and you saw that it feels realistic to you, then it's a much better place to start from. You feel a little more empowered. You're like, okay, I know what I got to do to get to X, Y, and Z. Otherwise, you're just going off of somebody else's projections that they think that's where you're going to get to, and a lot of times that formula doesn't. There's errors in it, or it just ends up not working out as well as you like it to. So that being said, thank you for watching this video. I certainly hope that you find it useful. As I said before, if you liked it, please feel free to comment on it, share, do whatever you need to do with it. But if you did like it and it's something that interests you, go back to the person who shared this with you and or contact me, and I'll put the contact information below, and we'll be happy to chat with you about anything that I did here. Okay? Have a great day. Take care.